Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm actually going to be going over a build that just so happens to fall in line with one of the Patreon requested videos. If you are a patron, you can recommend videos that I do each month, so thank you so much to the recommended video. I truly appreciate it. This video, the patron wanted me to cover a low impact build. Low impact builds are categories on meta battle where newer players can usually play them with pretty good ease. They have a lot of self-sustain. They're very easy to utilize. There's not that many mechanics. It's definitely not a top tier rating Snow Crow's Weaver build where you have to hit 1,000 keys in the same sequence, and if you don't, you lose half your damage. This is very much for open world, if you're a new player, and just relaxing and vibing with the game. It just so happens that this build is actually pretty similar to a Revenant build that I have been utilizing. So I did go look at the Revenant build for the low impact on meta battle, and it's fairly similar to the one I have been using, which was unbeknownst to me. However, I'm not going to be copying that one exactly. I've taken some portions of it as inspiration, and I'm going to be showcasing kind of my subtle tweaks that I would recommend for possible new players depending on your playstyle. So with that said, let's begin. First, let's cover the weapons and the legends, considering this is Revenant. So for my weapons, I am utilizing sword and axe. Sword being a power focused build, axe being for some traversal and some slight condi damage. We'll get into the condi damage in a bit. As for my second weapon set, I am using the staff. The staff offers a couple different self-sustain options, maybe even some support options for allies, but you have some nice breakbar damage in the form of your 5th skill with Surge of the Mists. This is a very heavy hitting crowd control ability, and you have a lovely block here on Warding Rift. So as for the legends that I'm taking Jalus and Malix. The dwarf stance being Jalus. This is very focused on self-sustain and self-preservation. This removes some conditions while giving you resolution. The 7th skill, Vengeful Hammers, that I have on my 7th bar, is a really great ability to reduce incoming damage while also giving you some slight healing. Also, this procs a lot of strikes on enemies, which can play into some traits if you have those slotted. Next, Inspiring Reinforcement, additional stability, and Forced Engagement. I actually really love Forced Engagement. I think it's a really cool ability. Does some damage, but most importantly, taunts enemies and slows them. And then while you have this buff up, you take reduced damage from taunted foes by 33%. I really think that 33% fact should just be on the unique Forced Engagement tooltip, and Jalus is speaking to us.
We do make a good team, don't we?
I think we make a great team, Jalus. And then next we have Rite of the Great Dwarf. Honestly, don't use this all too often. However, it does reduce your damage by 50% and also reduces allies' damage by 50% as well, and has a lovely spell effect. Next for Malix, also your heal, giving you some slight resistance, healing per condition. So in the case that you happen to have conditions on you in the open world, with Jalus, the legendary dwarf, you can remove those. If you have that on cooldown and you're in Malix, you're still gaining extra healing per condition, so it's still worthwhile. Banish Enchantment, just in case any boons are on enemies, this pulls them together. Pain Absorption grants you extra resistance and resolution, and pulls conditions from allies onto you. Slightly more supportive, and a really nice generator for self-resistance and resolution. Embrace the Darkness is your upkeep. Next, let's talk about the traits. I am running Devastation, Corruption, and Retribution. Devastation, Battle Scarred, Thrill of Combat, and also Dance of Death allows you to gain more stacks of battle scars, which is extra damage, and more importantly for self-sustain, really strong life siphon healing. So really great for that. You're gonna get a lot of these stacks. It's really great. Next, we have Demonic Defiance. Gain resistance when you use a legendary demon skill. This only interacts with Malix abilities, so do keep that in mind. Additionally, a demonic resistance. While you have resistance, you gain 20% damage reduction, which is even better. I've not taken Fiendish Tenacity, which gives you extra healing and resistance. Instead, I want to take Diabolic Inferno, which triggers on Invoke Torment. Now, Invoke Torment is a minor trait. Release a burst of Torment energy when you swap legends in combat. So this isn't something you can get use out of when you're outside of combat. Like, you don't see any spell effects bursting around me. It's only when you're in combat will you gain that area blast, which now, in taking this Grandmaster, additionally applies burning and poison. And next, Retribution, taking Planar Protection for some extra weakness and projectile hate, Dwarven Battle Training for increased damage and also applying weakness when I disable a foe, and then Steadfast Rejuvenation, heal every second for each point of upkeep currently in use. This is extremely strong when you're using Vengeful Hammers or when you're using Embrace the Darkness. As for the equipment, I am taking legendary gear because I do have legendary gear on my character. However, if you are running something like rare or exotic, I believe this will even be better with the stat that I'm going with, because it gives you access to a plethora of things. Now, this stat in particular is Celestial Gear. Celestial Gear gives you stat bonuses to every single stat type in the game. You're not necessarily specializing in one area. You are instead covering every single base, giving yourself a little bit more healing, a little bit more vitality, a little bit more toughness, a little bit of power, and a little bit of precision to allow you to maintain yourself in a fight. Additionally, condition damage. Now, condition damage is important because of Malik's, the offhand axe, and additionally the corruption trait line. So you're getting a taste of everything: self-sustain, condition damage, and power damage. Runes are actually very important, and I want to emphasize this for newer players. I didn't think runes were that big of a deal, but when I started getting into endgame crafting, endgame build development, I started to realize how impactful runes can be. And Rune of Divinity goes extremely well with Celestial because it's +8, +10, +12, 14, 16, 18 to all stats. And at the very end, gives you 10% increased health baseline. So you're around 22,000 health when you're at the ascended rank of gear. When you're at rare or exotic, you'll still be a bit lower because it's not as many attribute points. However, it's still very important. And as for my weapons, just taking a sword and an axe. I don't have the specific stat combination that I think I would prefer to have on my weapons. However, they work pretty well. I do have it on my staff, however, because I do have Nevermore. And when you have legendaries, you can select any stat you want. And then as for the sigils, I'm taking Bloodlust and also Sigil of Ruthlessness because this will be the power focus. As for staff is a little bit more self-sustainable, so I've decided to go with weakness and slight quickness uptime on Superior Sigil of Rage. As for my backpack and other pieces of equipment, I'm taking the Ascension and Aurora, which gives me, of course, legendary attributes to freely select. In the case of my other area for backpack, your amulet, your rings, this is when you can start to be a little bit more creative, I feel. So I'm taking is the Vigilant stat type, giving myself a little bit more power and toughness, but importantly, concentration and expertise. Concentration focusing on boons and expertise focusing on conditions. That is pretty much the build. Now I'm going to go in and show off some gameplay just to showcase how easy this can be, particularly for newer players, and how self-sustainable this can be. So what I am going to try to do is I'm going to try to pull a couple enemies. I'll even run into this spike trap just to show off and to showcase some of that self-sustain ability. We do have this legendary assembler here, which is a little rough. The UI and it goes invisible for just a brief moment, but then it comes back off. So let's just use the 7th skill. We'll just showcase some of the damage that we're doing. We are getting stacks of battle presence, and right now, I am getting consistently attacked, and I'm still standing at basically half health. I'm not even attacking. When you start doing auto attacks, you're doing even more. I have conditions on myself, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to swap over to Malik's as well, and just give myself some cover resistance. Even though now don't have really that many conditions, they're starting to pop up a little more. Got some cripple, got some vulnerability on me as well, but those are no longer taking any effect. And then as for the damage, I'd say I'm not doing too bad of damage as well. Because of my abilities and my traits that I'm taking, I'm allowing myself to apply some condition damage, but I'm also making sure that I'm staying alive. Pop that. And down. Another thing that I would actually recommend for corruption, if you don't necessarily need demonic resistance. Now, demonic resistance is very strong. It's minus 20% all around. If you want to do a little bit more torment damage, because you have some torment play style with the condition damage, I would definitely recommend taking Abyssal Chill. When you chill a foe, you also inflict torment on them. Now with Malix, you have chill on this, which applies torment. You'll have chill on this, which applies torment. You have chill on your offhand axe, which applies torment. It's the first two legends which were shown off during Heart of Thorns, so I definitely have those big nostalgia energy. But we'll see here with just with the chill, look at, I can already start to stack up a little bit more torment on my foes. We're gonna do this. And then even with Banish Enchantment now is a pretty decent torment stacker, even when you don't necessarily need it for its boon removal. Though that boon removal is really nice. Sadly, this isn't really boon removal or boon corruption, it's just boon removal, which can still be pretty impactful, especially for people with swiftness or might. Once again, I am a big proponent for allowing enemy mobs out in the open world to apply more consistent boon uptime, at least having a couple stacks of might, some slight extra regen application, even fury, because then we can see some more play styles with boon rip, boon destruction, and boon corruption. So they have resolution there, which reduces the damage of my conditions. I'm gonna get rid of that. I'm gonna swap into here. We're gonna swap legends, and that big explosion applies some burning, torment, and also some poison. Taking some damage here, so I'm gonna use my 7 skill to gain a little bit more health. And overall, just having a pretty easy time. I am gonna go off this cliff. This build might not be the most bursty out of any single build you could play. There are many other open world builds that have extremely high burst potential. This allows you to be a very consistent player in fights here. We'll even try to fight this elite Fire Hydra. Now, Fire Hydra are quite scary, not gonna lie. Even as someone who's been playing Path of Fire and playing this game for quite a while, Hydras can be extremely difficult. In fact, I'm gonna give myself a little bit of stability with enemies that charge and knock down. So we have 3 stacks of stability built there. It ate one of them. I would have been knocked down. It's not for that stability. We'll actually dodge. No, never mind. We will pull them together a little bit. I'm gonna give myself some extra resistance to remove a little bit extra damage that they might be doing with that 20% reduction. If you have that slotted, but because I have chill, this torment, I'm not getting any use out of that. So just be aware when you make different changes, what you are changing, and you know, sometimes it takes a while to commit that to memory. But we took down that elite Fire Hydra very easily, and I wasn't necessarily like bashing buttons, I wasn't mashing things, I wasn't trying to manage my cooldowns necessarily. I was pretty much being reactive. I was like, okay, so I know they're gonna start knocking me back. I have this one skill that allows me to gain some stability, and because of extra concentration, it lasts for a little bit longer, which is always nice to see. I'll actually use a little bit of staff just to show it off. Essentially, what staff does, it's a really nice weapon to gain some healing orbs on the ground, and you can go around and pick these up for a little bit extra healing. You also have a nice blind on your 3rd ability. We're going to swap into Malix now gain that torment application. The one thing about the staff on this weapon set is that there is not really any chill application. So if you have that trait where when you chill, you apply torment, you won't be getting any use out of that. However, that doesn't stop you from going into Malix and using your elite skill. All right. And we'll just kill some of these dust mites. You have a lot of quick packets of damage also on the staff with your auto attack. Your 4th skill is an extra healing ability and also cleanses conditions. And if you're fighting an enemy like this Fire Hydra with a break bar, currently this break bar is locked away. If you are fighting an enemy where their break bar is not locked and it is a bright blue, that means they're vulnerable to be controlled. In order to do that, you will have to use crowd control abilities such as Surge of the Mists, where you knock back them continuously, or you apply a little packet of blind to them, which will slowly eat away at their break bar. So everyone, this was the low impact Patreon video where I cover the Revenant in particular. There are a bunch of other low impact builds on Meta Battle. Additionally, I'm always creating builds that are more so new player focused, easy to utilize, builds that have crowd control, that have conditions that help you in combat from reducing damage you're taking, such as weakness or blind application or chill application. So definitely go check those builds out. I have a bunch of builds on my channel. Thank you everyone for coming. If you would like to subscribe to the Patreon and also request some videos, I have links down below. In addition to that, subscribe to YouTube, follow me on Twitch. If you would like to pre-order End of Dragons, I have links down below. Purchase the existing expansions or try the game for free. I have those down below. Thank you so much for reading it, and I will see you all in the next video. Take care, everyone. Bye. Mwah.